Hey, are you looking to get a killer desktop hi-fi system for around $400? Do you want the tubey warmth of the sound? How about a powerful 100 watts into 8 ohms amp with a fully balanced preamp, fully balanced amp? Well, today is all about the Aiyima 10th Anniversary T20 and A20 power amp. But first, welcome to the Desktop Hi-Fi channel. On this channel, I review hi-fi gear that is tailored towards near-field listening. You know, powered and passive bookshelf speakers, for example, DACs, headphones, power amps, headphone amps, streamers, CD player, and more. And what I try to do is find some of the best budget-friendly hi-fi out there and review these things for you. And if you're interested in these products, Aiyima provided a couple links giving you 15% off. And I want to thank Aiyima for sending these for me to review. However, no one has ever reviewed the video in advance, and all opinions are my own. But, I also feel that Aiyima doesn't get all the attention they deserve. So in my review, or I should say, so on with my review, and let's start with the unboxing of the T20 and then the A20. The T20 is packed very well. That's to reduce shipping damage. But in the box, you're going to get a power supply, a remote control, a warranty card, a user guide, and then two ECC83 tubes, which are identical to the 12AX7 tubes. Now, these are a miniature dual triode vacuum tube that had a lot of high voltage gain in them. The whole build, both products appears to have excellent quality. Now, the A20 unboxing experience is almost exactly like the T20. It's packaged the same exact way, and you get the user guide, a 3.5 millimeter trigger cable, and a 48 volt 5 amp GAN power supply, which delivers 240 watts of audio power. And yes, the A20 itself, which has excellent build quality. And I should mention both units are the same size, 7.5 inches in width, 5.6 inches in depth, and just under 2 inches tall. But let's cover some of the more important features and specs of the T20 and A20. So starting with the T20, I think some of the top features include the following. First, there's two ECC83 tubes, as I mentioned earlier. You get a large digital display for the volume, and the T20 uses the LME 49720 op amp, which is swappable. You get balanced inputs and outputs, as well as RCA. You get a 12-volt trigger, and then there's that big multifunction knob for things like switching inputs to mute it, volume up and down, power off and on. The T20 has a full metal or aluminum body. So does the A20 power amp. But on the front of the T20, you see a little indicator for colors red and blue for RCA is red, and then blue for XLR. The large multifunction knob, which does have an excellent feel to it, I think. But on the back, you get two XLR outputs, left and right, and an RCA out. Then there's two XLR inputs, left and right, and one RCA input. There's also a 12-volt trigger. Now, moving on to the A20, and its features and specs. And by the way, I have links to these products, which are, I think, designed to be bought together, really, as a pair. But that's not required, obviously. But you're getting solid build quality and attention to thermals. The internal TPA 3255 chip, you get that, and then the large 240-watt GAN power supply. It has high-pass filters, a powered subwoofer out, and a bypass switch. And there's also, I think, a 48-volt 10 amp power supply available as well, but mine ship with the 5 amp power supply. But still, I still get 100 watts per channel. That's what the manufacturer says. Now, the A20 have real toggle switches on the front and a large volume control with a ruby red ring. It's very nice looking. I think it adds maybe a touch of class to the A20. There's a 3 dB gain switch when you're using XLR inputs as well. Now on the back, 2 XLR and 1 RCA input. I should mention, the units are the same size, 7.5 by 5.59 by 1.81. There's a crossover frequency for the sub output, a bypass switch, a 12-volt trigger, the RCA gold-plated speaker connections, and power input. As for setting these up, well, they're not necessarily complex devices, okay? Simply insert the 2 tubes into the T20, add a source connection, either XLR or RCA, connect the T20 to the A20, and then add your speakers, and you are ready to go. But I do recommend using the remote on the T20 for most things, and make sure that that you use that you connect that trigger cable. It comes in very handy. Now, as far as listening, now how does this thing sound, right? This setup, this rig. Well, let's talk about the gear and the music that I auditioned the T20 and A20 with as a set rather than independently, because I believe this is what Aiyima designed and built, this system, this rig, whatever. So for speakers, I'm using the KEF Q150s, which I currently use as reference speakers. These are source point type speakers with amazing imaging all on their own. And the sound, well, I know how these things sound all that well. Now I connected my SMSL D0400, used a WIM Pro SMSL PL150 CD player. But my ultimate goal was to see what difference these tubes make. For music, I have a number of test tracks that I wanted to highlight. The following album, Fighting by Thin Lizzy. Remember those guys? The Boys, I think Boys Were Back in Town is one of them. Thin Lizzy's album, Fighting, was the moment I think the band really showed off their rock chops. I really do. I think they cranked up the twin guitar attack. They made Phil Lynot's songwriting even more engaging, I think. And it was bursting with real grit, real drive, real groove, I guess. Old word, I know. But it gives us instant crowd pleasers such as Rosalie, Suicide, because it balances just a lot of energy with really clever hooks in there. And this record didn't just prove Lizzy can handle the hard rock scene. It set the stage for more anthem-like sound that would soon make them rock legends. Now, after running this combo through a good dose of classic rock, some electronic, even a bit of smooth jazz, because, hey, why not? Here's what I think. The T20 and A20 pair actually sounds like. First off, yes, these tubes do their thing, okay? They sprinkle in that extra bit of warmth, richness, maybe not as much as a full-blown tube amplifier, but for more technical folks, that warmth is actually called pleasant distortion. But to me, the mids feel more alive, more fun to listen to. Cymbals, guitar, harmonics, drum hits, well, they just come through really nicely with detail that makes you want to kind of lean in, which is kind of cool, I think. Bass, well, first off, I'm not using a subwoofer with my setup, but you're not going to get the earth-shaking bass. It's going to rattle your windows. It does, but with rock, it really doesn't matter much. You still get a solid thump from the kick drum, and the bass guitar is enough weight to keep your head nodding. Those toes tapping. Just not to take your neighbor's house kind of oomph a massive tube amp might bring. Treble is clean. It's crisp. Cymbals, vocals, syllabants shines right through. But the tube stage takes a little of the edge off, so things never get that harsh. It's sparkle without ear fatigue. Imaging and soundstage are excellent, though credit is due where it's due, and the KEFs really do help a lot here. When I swapped over to the Fosi SP601s, which I'm working on a review, they came across a bit more detailed and analytical, while the KEFs sounded more spacious and open. So both, have their charms. But if you're after a little bit more air around the instruments, I think the KEFs would probably win out. But I'm not 100% sure. I got a lot more testing to do on those. As far as comparing this, well, I'm actually comparing this with a little Fosi stack, the ZA3 with the P3 preamp. Same sources, using the same DAC, the SMSL D0400. And then there's where it stood out. The rig sounds definitely warmer and maybe a little bit more lush through the mids, while the Fosi combo digs up a bit more detail in the upper registers and handles vocal sibilants just a touch smoother. Price-wise, they're close, but the ZP3 preamp gives you extra inputs, tone controls, all for the Fosi stack. I think might be about $100 more than the Aiyima setup. In a summary, honestly, I don't think Aiyima gets enough credit. The T20 Plus and A20 Duo is part of their 10th anniversary line, and together they make for an affordable, smooth, and flat-out enjoyable desktop hi-fi system. But I also want to give you some pros and cons. First off, I think you're getting really good value for your money. You're getting solid build quality, you're getting a fully balanced design, and the T20 comes with a handy remote. The system sounds smooth. It has a nice warm sound that I think it's going to be easy to enjoy for hours. Not a lot of cons that I found so far. There's not a lot of independent testing yet on this, such for handling things like load handling and thermals, etc. The A20 might sweat a bit if you try to power massive, power-hungry speakers in a huge room and try to have very loud music. Yeah, I don't think you're going to be able to handle that all that well. But their anniversary gear gives you great sound without torching your wallet. I like my wallet. I like to keep my money in my wallet. If you like this review, don't forget to smash the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bruce Naylor, Desktop Hi-Fi channel. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.